If you're a fan of improv comedy, you've probably heard of the Whose Line Is It Anyway show. It's one of the best comedy shows on TV. The best one on ABC, for sure. However, one installment of the show that I watched was undoubtedly creepy. Here's what you have to know to understand my disturbance. Whose Line Is It Anyway first originated as a radio series in the United Kingdom, before coming to TV in 1988, which lasted until 1998. It was a fake game show with a host and 4 contestants. There were several games, if you could call them that, in the show, based on what the audience shouted. Contestants acted out an improvised sketch until the host pressed a buzzer to stop the sketch. Then, the next game began. Drew Carey was the host of the US version from 1998 to 2007. All the contestants had good relationships. Most notably, there was a friendship between Ryan and Colin, and between Ryan and Drew, the host. I ask you to keep it all in mind. Well, 12 years ago, around 2001, 2002, I was channel surfing and occasionally switched to Whose Line. Drew was pressing the buzzer, laughing his butt off, the audience was applauding and cheering, and the guys were standing on the stage, all 4 of them smiling. Some game had just finished, and I could have missed some really great stuff. I mean, Drew's laughter was hysterical. But that was where things went totally wrong. Drew would just not stop laughing. As the guys took their seats backstage, it was time for Drew to make another points-related joke and announce the next challenge. Instead, he just laughed and laughed. There was an awkward pause. The confused contestants began to look at each other. That was when Ryan began to act strangely, just staring at Drew, observing him motionlessly. Was he hypnotized or frightened? Either way, it was really creepy. Drew then started to cough severely. He rose from his desk and tried to go somewhere, but suddenly fell over, face down on the stage. The audience went silent. The camera focused on Drew and occasionally the guys. I think it was just out of shock, because even I felt it while watching. What is going on here? When Drew fell over, all of the guys jumped up from their seats. All, that is, except for Ryan. Instead of helping, he cringed and sat back while still staring at agonizing Drew. It was very unlikely for a friend to act like this. It appeared that he didn't even care about Drew's health. It was at this point that Wayne was holding Drew while Colin slapped on his back, and Brad poured a glass of water for Drew. Somebody asked if he needed any help. I think it was from the audience. Nobody bothered to respond, though. The cast talked to each other, visibly concerned about the whole mess, but you couldn't figure out a single word. The microphones must have been switched off for some reason. I don't know. Colin said something to Ryan. Maybe even shouted it, but Ryan didn't answer. He just shook his head and shrank back even more. I just watched, freaked out. Why would they show us someone choking nearly to death during prime time? I questioned if this was supposed to be a funny routine. I'm not the kind of person who complains about TV stuff and writes protest letters, but this was the case for it. I mean, were they out of their mind? Drew was still trying to clear his throat, and it was at that point he coughed up blood. Someone from the audience shouted, "Fuck." I think it could have been someone from the crew, maybe even Dan Patterson, the producer. I was totally confused. The program was usually very censored, so was this unedited? Filmed live? Why would they broadcast it? This lasted for another 10 minutes. Nobody else came in, nobody tried to resolve the problem. Laura Hall, the musician, was not present at the piano. However, she usually was not there during non-musical rounds, so the last game must have been one of those. At the end, Drew was not showing any signs of life or typical signs of death. Still, it was immensely creepy. The broadcast was abrupted for a commercial break. After another Who's Line episode began without any oddities in it whatsoever. And there you have it. And as far as I know, nobody mentioned the incident in mass media or internet forums. As you know, the show was canceled in 2005, but Drew Carey is still hosting a couple of TV shows. He is safe and sound, still a friend of Ryan Stiles. I've watched all the episodes of the show on YouTube, but never saw that particular one again. In one occasion, Drew had choked from water, but was quickly relieved. The whole thing took less than a minute, and Ryan was really caring about Drew this time. As well, some Ryan hoedowns, like, "I'll have my own show when I'll murder Drew Carey," became very creepy for me. However, this is all that I've noticed. And I still can't make up my mind about what it was.